Equestrian statuary is different from equestrian stationery. Maybe, textual, embodied, rhetoric, performance, aesthetic, memory. I have a horse mask on my head. Equestrian statuary is old, dates back to ancient Greece. Aristophanes wrote a play about equestrian statuary called Knights on Horses, 423 BCE. The comedy is about a lucky dog vendor in Jackson Square, New Orleans, named Ignatius. Ignatius rises to public prominence by attacking Governor Bobby Jindal with his 7-foot steel wiener pushcart. This is an image of a lucky dog vendor. Embodied, textual, performance, rhetoric, aesthetic, memory. Maybe. I have a horse mask on my head. In his book, The Architecture of Happiness, Alain de Botton discusses buildings, landscapes, squares, sculptures, statues, etc. Some folks, he despairs, have disdained any interest in decoration and design, equating to contentment with discarnate and invisible matters instead. He offers an example. On a visit to the charter house of Dauphin, Saint Bernard astonished his host by arriving on a magnificent white horse, diametrically opposed to the ascetic values he professed. But he explained that he had borrowed the animal from a wealthy uncle and had simply failed to register its appearance on a 4-day journey across France. Here is an image of France. Definitions, practices, methods, practices, definitions. I like equestrian statues. They used to be hard to build. My favorite statue is probably the one in Jackson Square. It's a statue of Andrew Jackson. He's on a horse. It's called Statue of Andrew Jackson. Here is an image of Andrew Jackson after his victory at the Battle of New Orleans. Textual, embodied, rhetoric, performance, aesthetic, maybe, not sure, architecture, memory, art. The famous statue in Jackson Square is a replica of one in Washington, D.C., in Lafayette Square. Mr. S.H. Kaufman read a paper he wrote on Monday evening, March 11, 1901, before the Columbia Historical Society there in Washington. The paper was cleverly called Men on Horseback. Kaufman said or wrote, the first equestrian statue to be executed and set up in the United States was the bronze group of General Jackson, the hero of the War of 1812, which stands in Lafayette Square in this city. It was modeled and cast from cannon captured in Jackson's campaigns by the late Clark Mills, and was inaugurated with imposing ceremonies on the 8th day of January, 1853. That day being the 38th anniversary of the old hero's victory at New Orleans. The replica in New Orleans was placed there in 1856, the same year the hot dog was invented. Hot dogs present a significant choking risk, especially for children. Here is an image of Clark Mills. Methods, practices, definitions, words, statues, people with horse masks on. There is another statue of Jackson. It's on my campus in Columbia, South Carolina, where I teach rhetoric classes. It presents young Jackson on a horse. It's called Young Andrew Jackson on Horse. It was constructed and erected in 1967. It was sculpted by well-known sculptor Anna von Hyatt Huntington. She wanted to present not an image of power, but of wonder. I interviewed her for this performance a week before she died in 1973. She said, "He must have been a good-looking and thoughtful boy, wondering what the future might hold. Here is an image of a kid about to choke on a hot dog. Textual, embodied, definitions, practices, methods, rhetoric, performance, maybe, whatever, tension, dialogue, aesthetic, buildings, hot dogs, horses. Did you know Andrew Jackson, the yokel who worked at Crystal on Bourbon Street before joining the military, defeated John Quincy Adams, rhetoric professor, in the 1928 U.S. presidential election? Lots of rhetorical scholars see that election as one of those watershed moments. It helped change the norms of rhetorical stylistics and culture. Egalitarianism and populism beat out elitism and patrician leadership of an elite class. It was the decline of an oratorical culture of public discourse and of the collectivist assumptions about moral authority on which it was based. That sucks. Here is an image of John Quincy Adams. Rhetoric, performance, rhetorics. Adams, Jackson, rhetorics, performances, sliders. Did you know that Jackson Square was an artist colony? Well, still sort of is, I guess. As the Arts Council of New Orleans put it on their website, for well over half a century, there has been an open-air artist colony at Jackson Square, with artists painting and displaying their work on the outside of the iron fence. Under the shade of the oak tree, one can sit and have a pastel portrait done in about 1 hour, and you will be hard-pressed to find another portrait artist working outside anywhere else in the world. Here is an image of an artist at Jackson Square. Art, landscapes, squares, rhetoric, performance, memory, architecture, happiness, misery. Did you know about the controversy regarding Jackson's horse? Folks say that in equestrian statuary, if both of the horse's hooves are in the air, that means the rider died in battle. If one hoof is in the air, the rider died of wounds later on from the battle. If all 4 legs are on the ground, that means he or she is still alive or died of natural causes, like choking on a lucky dog. Jackson didn't die in the Battle of New Orleans, despite the 2 hooves in the air. Ah, sucks! Here's an image of a dead horse. Is rhetoric dead? Maybe. Not sure. Probably not. Misery. Happiness. Architecture. Memory. Performance. Rhetoric. Rhetorics. Performances. Art. Jackson Square. Here is an image of Jackson Square. Go. Tableau. Thank you.